I stood at my father's grave on a Tuesday morning, watching workers lower the mahogany casket into dark earth. Rain drummed against my black umbrella while 30 people pretended to cry. My older brother Tyler stood beside me, his hand on my shoulder like we were close. We weren't. Father had been dead for 3 days, and already Tyler wore his wedding ring on a chain around his neck. Our family ring. The one that should have gone to me, the youngest daughter, according to our family tradition of passing it to the child most interested in the business. But Tyler took it from Father's finger before the funeral home even arrived. I watched him do it. He looked me straight in the eye and smiled. The cemetery smelled like wet grass and expensive flowers. Mother couldn't attend because her grief had put her in bed with pills and darkness. My sister Vanessa whispered prayers beside me, her voice shaking. She believed in heaven. I believed in what I could see, and what I saw was Tyler checking his watch during the final prayer. He had somewhere to be, somewhere more important than our father's burial. I memorized that moment. The rain, the watch, the smile. I would need it later. Tyler grabbed my arm as people walked away. "We need to talk about the company," he said. His voice was smooth like oil on water. "Father's will gets read tomorrow. Just you, me, Vanessa, and the lawyers be at the office by 9. He squeezed my shoulder too hard, then walked toward his black Mercedes. His wife Crystal followed him, her heels clicking on wet pavement. She glanced back at me once, and something in her eyes looked like pity. Or warning, I couldn't tell which. But I felt cold despite my coat, and that feeling followed me home like a shadow. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Father's last words to me, whispered in the hospital 3 weeks before he died. "Watch Tyler," he had said, his voice barely there. "Watch him close, Natalie, he's not who you think." I had asked what he meant, but Father just closed his eyes. The machines beeped, nurses walked by, and my father took that secret with him to his grave. Now I was left with questions and a brother who smiled at funerals. Morning came too fast. I drove to Richardson Industries at 8:30, the building where Father built his empire from nothing. 40 years of work, 50 employees, contracts worth millions. The company made industrial parts for factories across the country. Boring work, but it paid for our private schools and vacation homes. It paid for everything. I parked next to Tyler's Mercedes and saw Vanessa's blue Honda already there. She was always early, always prepared. I wished I had her calm. My hands shook as I walked through glass doors into the lobby. The conference room smelled like coffee and leather. Tyler sat at the head of the table, Father's spot. Vanessa sat to his right, her hands folded like she was still praying. 2 lawyers I didn't recognize sat across from each other, briefcases open and papers spread out like a battlefield. The older lawyer, a man named Mr. Harrison with grey hair and tired eyes, gestured for me to sit. I took the chair farthest from Tyler. He noticed and smirked. That smirk told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't going to be fair. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat and opened a blue folder. "Thank you all for coming. We're here to review the last will and testament of Maxwell Richardson, dated March 15th of this year. That was 2 months before Father died, 2 months before cancer won." The lawyer read through boring legal language about assets and properties, and I tried to focus. But my mind kept wandering to Tyler's face. He looked too calm, too ready, like he already knew what was coming. Vanessa held a tissue but hadn't cried yet. She just stared at the table. "The family home goes to Patricia Richardson," Mr. Harrison continued, meaning our mother. "The vacation property in Colorado goes to Vanessa Richardson. The investment accounts will be split equally among all 3 children." That was fair. I relaxed a little. Maybe I was wrong about Tyler. Maybe grief was making me paranoid. But then Mr. Harrison turned the page and his voice changed, got quieter, more careful. "As for Richardson Industries and all associated assets, Maxwell Richardson leaves complete ownership and control to his eldest son, Tyler Richardson." The room went silent except for my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Vanessa gasped. Tyler didn't move. He just sat there with that same calm face, like he'd been waiting for this moment his whole life. I felt my chair press against my back as I tried to understand. Complete ownership, not partial, not shared, everything. Father gave Tyler everything. The lawyer kept reading, but I stopped hearing words, just noise, just the sound of my world breaking apart like glass hitting concrete. "That's not possible," I finally said, my voice cracking. "Father promised. He promised me a position in the company. He said I'd run operations when I finished college. I had graduated 2 months ago with a business degree. Father shook my hand at graduation and said, 'Welcome to the family business, daughter.' Those exact words. I remembered them perfectly. Mr. Harrison looked at me with those tired eyes and said, 'I'm sorry, Natalie, but the will is clear and legally binding.'" Your father changed it in March. March, when father got his diagnosis, when doctors told him he had 6 months, he changed everything when he knew he was dying. Tyler finally spoke, his voice so calm it made me want to flip the table. Father knew what he was doing. He knew I could handle the responsibility. You're still young, Natalie, still learning. Maybe in a few years we can discuss a position for you. A position, like I was some stranger applying for a job. This was my family's company, my father's legacy. And Tyler was treating it like his personal property. Vanessa stood up so fast her chair fell backward. This is wrong, she said, her voice shaking with anger I'd never heard from her before. Daddy wouldn't do this. He loved Natalie. He talked about Natalie taking over operations all the time. She looked at the lawyers like they could fix it. There must be a mistake. Check again. But Mr. Harrison just shook his head and closed the folder. The meeting was over. The decision was made. Tyler owned everything and we owned nothing but anger and confusion. I walked out without saying goodbye. Vanessa called after me, but I kept walking through the lobby, past the receptionist who'd known me since I was 10, past the office where father used to work late into the night. Everything looked the same but felt different. Contaminated. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, trying to breathe. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Don't be dramatic, we're still family. Come to dinner Sunday and we'll talk about your future. I didn't go to Sunday dinner. I didn't answer his calls. I spent the next week in my apartment, which father had paid for and which I now couldn't afford without a job. I called father's old assistant, a woman named Helen who'd worked for him for 15 years. Did father seem different in March? I asked her. Like someone was influencing him. Helen was quiet for a long time. Then she said Tyler visited him a lot that month, private meetings in his office. I wasn't allowed to take notes. My blood went cold. I started digging. I called father's doctor and pretended to be handling estate paperwork. Was father mentally sharp in March? I asked. The doctor hesitated, then said, yes, the cancer hadn't affected his mind yet. That came later in May. So father was clear-headed when he changed the will. That meant either he really wanted Tyler to have everything or someone convinced him. I thought about those private meetings, about Tyler wearing father's ring before the body was cold, about Crystal's pitying look at the funeral. 2 weeks after the funeral, I got a call from someone I never expected. Crystal, Tyler's wife. She asked to meet me at a coffee shop downtown, somewhere Tyler wouldn't see us. I almost said no. But something in her voice sounded scared, and scared people tell the truth. I met her on a Thursday afternoon. She sat in the corner booth wearing sunglasses inside and a scarf covering most of her face. Thank you for coming, she said, and her hands shook when she lifted her coffee cup. What do you want? I asked, not nicely. She was married to the man who stole my inheritance. But Crystal pulled down her sunglasses and I saw a bruise under her left eye, yellow and fading. Tyler isn't who you think, she whispered. He did something terrible to your father, something I can't live with anymore. My heart started pounding. What did he do? Crystal looked around like Tyler might appear from the shadows. He forged documents. Made your father think you were stealing from the company. Showed him fake bank records with your name on them. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. That's impossible, father would have confronted me. But Crystal shook her head. Tyler told him you'd just deny it, told him you were young and reckless and would ruin the company. He visited your father every day in March, showing him more fake evidence. By the end of the month, your father believed Tyler was the only one he could trust. She started crying then, quiet tears running down her face. I found the documents on his computer. The real ones showing what he did. I made copies. Why are you telling me this? I asked, though I already knew. Crystal had a conscience. Tyler didn't. She reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive, small and silver. Everything's on here, the fake documents he showed your father, emails to the lawyer pressuring him to change the will, bank records proving Tyler bribed someone at your father's company to help create the forgeries. It's all there, Natalie. Everything you need to prove what he did. She slid the flash drive across the table. But you have to promise me something. When this goes public, when Tyler gets arrested, you have to help me disappear. He'll kill me if he finds out I told you. I promised. I took the flash drive home and opened the files with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Everything Crystal said was true. Worse than true. Tyler had created an entire fake narrative. Bank statements showing I'd transferred company money to personal accounts. Emails I'd never written talking about selling company secrets. Text messages I'd never sent. All of it perfectly forged with my name, my email, my phone number. And there in a folder marked insurance were the real documents. Tyler's real bank records showing payments to a man named Bruno Pierce, who worked in father's accounting department. I spent that whole night reading every file, building a case, understanding the depth of Tyler's betrayal. He hadn't just stolen my inheritance, he'd destroyed father's faith in me, made father die thinking his youngest daughter was a thief and a liar, that hurt worse than losing the company, worse than anything. I wanted to scream, to break things, to drive to Tyler's house and make him pay right then. But I didn't. I copied everything to 3 different places: cloud storage, external drive, email to myself. Then I called the one person who could help me make this right. Mr. Harrison, father's old lawyer, met me the next morning at his office. I showed him everything, watched his face go from confused to angry to horrified as he read through file after file. "This is fraud," he said finally, his voice hard. "Criminal fraud. If we can verify these documents are authentic, Tyler will go to prison." He looked at me over his reading glasses. "But Natalie, you need to be absolutely certain. Accusing your brother of something like this will destroy your family. There's no going back from this." "He destroyed it first," I said, "when he lied to our dying father." Mr. Harrison nodded slowly and picked up his phone. "I'm calling the police and the DA's office. This is beyond civil court now, this is criminal." I sat in his office while he made calls, watching the city through his window, people walking to work, living normal lives, not knowing their brother was a monster. An hour later, 2 detectives arrived, a woman named Detective Torres and a man named Detective Brooks. They looked at the evidence, asked me questions, took notes. Then Detective Torres said the words I'd been waiting to hear: "We'll get a warrant for Tyler Richardson's arrest." 3 days later, I watched from my car as police arrived at Richardson Industries. Tyler came out in handcuffs, his face red with rage, shouting about lawyers and mistakes. Employees gathered by the windows, phones out, recording everything. The news vans showed up within an hour. Local business owner arrested for fraud. The story spread like fire. Vanessa called me crying, asking if it was true. I told her everything. She went quiet, then said, "Good, I hope he rots." Mother called from her bed of grief and pills, asking what was happening. I couldn't tell her, not yet, not while she was so fragile. The trial took 6 months. 6 months of lawyers and evidence and Tyler's face on the news. Crystal testified against him, her voice steady and strong. Bruno Pierce, the accountant Tyler bribed, took a plea deal and confirmed everything: the forged documents, the fake emails, the plan to make father believe I was stealing. Tyler's lawyer tried to argue, tried to create doubt, but the evidence was mountains high and made of stone. The jury took 4 hours to find him guilty on all charges: fraud, forgery, bribery, elder manipulation. The judge gave Tyler 8 years in prison. His lawyer asked for mercy. The judge said, "You betrayed your dying father and tried to destroy your sister's life. This court finds no mercy for men like you." Tyler looked at me as guards led him away. No smile now, just hate, pure and burning. Crystal divorced him before he reached prison, vanished to somewhere Tyler couldn't find her. I kept my promise and helped her start over with a new name in a new state. Richardson Industries came back to me through the courts. Father's real will, the one before Tyler's manipulation, left the company to both of us to run together. With Tyler in prison, I inherited his share by default. I stood in father's old office on my first day as owner, touching his desk, looking at his photos. "I'm sorry, Dad," I whispered to the empty room. "Sorry it took so long to prove the truth." I felt his presence somehow, like he was standing beside me, finally knowing I'd never betrayed him. Vanessa joined the company as CFO. She was better with numbers than either Tyler or me. Mother eventually came out of her dark bedroom, moving into a smaller house with a garden she could tend. The company grew under our leadership, adding new contracts and new employees. I hired people based on loyalty and skill, not family name. Every decision I made, I imagined father watching. Would he be proud? Would he approve? Usually I felt yes. Sometimes I drive past the cemetery and sit by father's grave. I tell him about the company, about Tyler's prison letters that I burn without reading, about Vanessa's success and mother's garden. I tell him I forgive him for doubting me, even though it still hurts. "Tyler was smart," I say to the headstone. "He knew exactly what lies would work on you. That's not your fault." But part of me wonders if father should have known me better, should have trusted his daughter more, should have asked me directly instead of believing Tyler's poison. Tyler gets out in 2 years with good behavior. Vanessa wants me to get a restraining order. I probably will, but part of me wants him to see what I built, what he lost. Richardson Industries is worth twice what it was when father died. We have new offices, new clients, new respect. The name Richardson means something again, not betrayal, not fraud, but quality and trust. I rebuilt what Tyler tried to destroy, and that feels like the truest kind of revenge. The office stays busy now. Helen still works as my assistant, loyal and sharp as ever. Bruno Pierce went to prison too, smaller sentence for cooperating. His replacement is honest, background checked 3 times. I learned from Tyler's betrayal. Trust carefully, verify everything, keep your eyes open. These lessons feel heavy, like weights I carry everywhere, but they keep me sharp, keep me safe. Last week I framed Father's old photo and hung it in the lobby. Him smiling at his desk, young and hopeful, building his dream. Employees walk past it every day and newcomers always ask who he was. The founder, I tell them, the man who started it all. I don't mention Tyler, don't tell the story of betrayal and lies, that's history now, buried like Father. What matters is moving forward, building, creating, honoring the name Richardson the way it should be honored. On the anniversary of Father's death, the whole family gathered at the cemetery. Mother brought flowers, Vanessa brought prayers, I brought gratitude. We survived, we rebuilt. We proved that truth eventually rises like cream, no matter how deep someone tries to bury it. Tyler took so much from us, but he couldn't take our resilience, couldn't take our bond, couldn't take the Richardson name, no matter how hard he tried to drag it through mud. Standing there in the same spot where Rain had fallen and Tyler had smiled, I felt something shift. The weight lifted slightly, the anger faded to something manageable. Peace wasn't the right word, but maybe acceptance was. Father was gone, Tyler was in prison, the company was mine. These were facts now, solid and unchangeable. I could spend forever being angry, or I could spend my time being worthy of Father's real legacy. The choice was obvious. Mother touched my hand as we walked back to our cars. Your father would be so proud of you, she said, and this time I believed her. Not because of money or success, but because I'd fought for the truth when lying would have been easier. I'd stood up to my own brother when staying quiet would have been simpler. I'd honored Father's name by refusing to let it be destroyed by betrayal. The sun broke through clouds as we drove away, golden light hitting Father's headstone. I watched it in my rearview mirror until the cemetery disappeared behind trees. That night I didn't dream of Tyler or trials or betrayal. I dreamed of Father in his office, young and strong, building something from nothing. When I woke up, I knew exactly what to do. I would keep building, keep growing, keep making the Richardson name mean something worth remembering. Because that's what Father really left me, not a company or money or property. He left me a choice. Let betrayal define me or let resilience reshape me. I chose resilience. Every single day I choose resilience. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, I'm learning that sometimes the hardest battles create the strongest victories. Tyler took so much, but he gave me something too. He gave me proof of my own strength. Proof that I could survive anything, even family turning to poison. The Richardson name didn't fall the night Father died. It didn't fall when Tyler lied and manipulated and betrayed. It fell when we stopped fighting for it. And the moment we picked it back up, dusted it off and made it shine again, that's when we won. That's when the echoes of betrayal finally, mercifully went quiet. And in that silence I found something I thought Tyler had stolen forever. I found myself.